It's one of the most ethnically diverse countries in the world. For decades, it has welcomed people trying to escape war, poverty and torture.
I thought UK is a heaven for safety.
But getting asylum in the United Kingdom can be a long and difficult process that leads many people into detention.
You end up existing, not living.
For years, former detainees and employees have complained of inhumane treatment.
The system fundamentally is broken.
The authorities say they are addressing the problem, but are they doing enough to deal with desperate people trying to start a new life?
I thought UK is the place that everyone wished to come to be safe. But unfortunately, my experience was quite different.
Abdul was only 18 when he managed to escape from Sudan, after being detained many times because he was taking part in anti-government protests.
I was badly tortured there and experienced a horrific torture I wish no one to go through. Resulted in 263 scars that I count them myself.
Despite being a victim of torture, he says his case was not given adequate attention, and he was locked up in detention centres for more than 6 years. Abdul's case is not unique. Tawfiq Hussein successfully represented him and many other detained torture victims.
People who are under immigration powers are detained in the UK. Many of those are vulnerable people. So they are people who have been tortured, they've been ill-treated in their country of origin, they may suffer from mental health issues, they may have post-traumatic stress, they will have physical evidence of scarring as a result of ill-treatment and serious torture. The law should protect those people from detention. The Home Office should accept that those people should not be detained.
Under British law, they're not supposed to be. But one doctor who has examined hundreds of detainees says that torture victims continue to be wrongly detained.
The doctors working in detention are required to identify to the Home Office people who are too vulnerable for this purely administrative and potentially arbitrary detention. They routinely fail to adequately describe what they see. These interviews are often rushed, and even when they are well done, and they sometimes are, the Home Office routinely ignores the medical advice.
In a written statement to TRT World, the Home Office stated that detention remains an important part of our immigration system, helping to ensure that those with no right to remain in the UK are removed if they will not leave voluntarily. More than 77,000 people are currently seeking asylum in the UK, a number that has doubled in the past 5 years. 57% of them live in some of the poorest parts of the country, mostly in the north. Around 3,500 are detained in one of the country's 10 so-called immigration removal centres. They can be held there indefinitely, as UK law does not impose a time limit on detention. Esther spent more than 9 months in detention, during which time she was subjected to 10 removal orders.
They came very early in the morning when I was sleeping, like about maybe 10 officers with the detention manager, I don't remember the name, and they grabbed me out of the room. They covered me with the blanket because I was naked.
She was not deported and eventually released, but while detained, she became suicidal.
I wasn't like in my normal state. I was like depressed. So I don't know. I was doing anything like committing suicide. That was the only thing on my mind because I couldn't go through what I was going through.
Like many former detainees, she blames harsh conditions and inhumane treatment.
I can't compare it like what I went through back home, but they make what I went through here, they make the situation more worse. I mean, physically, mentally.
This is where Esther was detained. Yarl's Wood, a removal centre that's become infamous in the UK. Only women and families are held here. Today, former detainees and human rights campaigners are protesting. For those inside, that offers a glimpse of hope. This is as close as we can get to the detainees. Despite our request, the Home Office did not allow us to film inside. To get a better idea of what's going on in Yarl's Wood, we meet Emily, another former detainee.
This is not prison. This is immigration detention. If you were to be in prison, you would call asylum seeker.
She's an actress now.
She always had raised the arm.
Her latest play features life inside the detention centre.
I was just crying. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I didn't know what was the next step from now. I stayed there 4 weeks because they were trying to determine who really I am.
The policy is generally detain first, ask questions later. Rather than ask questions, assess whether detention is really necessary in this case, then make a decision based on all the information and evidence to, yes, we do think we should detain in this instance, or no, detention is actually not suitable in this instance.
Abdul knows this policy very well. Despite all the scars on his body, he says he was treated more like a criminal than a victim.
You were locked up in a room, a toilet next to you, a very small, tiny room, sometimes sharing with someone. Your freedom are taken away from you. You're born in this country and this world. You came here free, and you will become like almost a slave. You will be told when to eat, when to sleep, when to wake up, what to do, where to work. You have no right, you have no choice.
No choice but to try and win an uphill battle.
It's a game of who breaks first, whether it's the Home Office or the detainees, and far too often it's the detainees that are breaking within the system without the support they need, without the legal advice they need as well.
Nathan Ward used to be a manager at one of the UK's so-called immigration removal centres. But he decided to leave his job after witnessing how harmful detention can be for asylum seekers.
The system fundamentally is broken, the legal framework in which we operate is broken, the culture within the centre is broken, the staff within the centre are broken, and ultimately the detainees that are held there are broken, but they were broken before they even arrived there, and so the detention in itself is very damaging, and there's been widespread research to show that is the case.
And some are so broken that they resort to extreme solutions. 2017 saw the highest number of detainee deaths ever recorded. The Home Office says it's investigating.
One of the issues around deaths in immigration detention is that a large proportion of these immigration detention centres are run by private companies, and this is a way essentially for the Home Office to absolve itself of responsibility.
It's the Home Office and the Ministry in particular that's democratically elected in this country to take responsibility for immigration. If they wish to discharge that duty to third parties, then that's their decision, but they can never discharge the fact that they are the ones that are responsible.
The Home Office told TRT World that the dignity and welfare of those in our care is of the utmost importance. That is why we introduced and operate on a presumption against detention, and when people are detained, this is for the minimum time possible. Ahmed came from Iraq to get a PhD in computer engineering. While he was studying, Daesh took over his hometown. He decided to apply for asylum, but ended up behind bars.
The most intimidating thing, the scariest thing that made me under huge stress all the time, is the fact that no one would know what will happen to me in here. No, that's it. That's the end. You go there and you're forgotten. Nothing. Yes, fences and everything, but it's very scary, the idea of that's the end of your life. You will just stay there till you die.
More than half of the people detained end up being released and then fight to have their cases heard. Emily was detained repeatedly. She's been living in the UK for 16 years, and most of her time has been spent in a state of limbo.
The hardest part of the process for me is not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow. Later on next week, you can't even plan. You just take every hour as it comes. After I was arrested the first time, I used to carry a bag with underwears to change and the top and toothpaste, because I was scared that maybe today I'm not coming back in the house.
After 15 years, Abdul finally got his residency, but he feels broken.
This morning, I had a panic attack whilst I was asleep. I had a flashback. This is a daily thing I'm living with. Yes, I left detention, but detention never left me. Detention lived with me inside my soul every single day.
Abdul now wants to help people like him to fight against what he sees as an unjust detention system, and to be the voice of thousands of asylum seekers locked behind bars, out of sight and out of mind.